and welcome to this live edition of BYOB. I am Nola Nash.
I'm Laura Kemp, and this is...
I'm Tracey Buchanan.
We are so excited that you could join us today. We've got Tracey. We are so excited about talking about Tracey's upcoming release, and we're going to get to that in just a second. Just a little business here. We are live, and I know you guys are not used to us being live because we were recorded for a while. So folks, go ahead. If you are watching us live, go ahead and drop those comments into the comment box, and we can see those. If you've got questions for Tracey, questions for us, comments about that, we will try to get to those throughout our 20 minutes or so that we have here. If you have questions and you're watching it in a replay, go ahead and put those comments down in the comment boxes, and we'll pop back around and answer those for you as well. So remember, this is a live show. I know y'all are not used to that, and we are glad to have y'all joining us. We'll keep an eye on those comments. All right, so Tracey Buchanan is the author of this fabulous book right here for the corner of Mercy and Peace. All right, look at us. We got them all today. And this is, I love this quirky book. I am all about this. I love a good ghost story. I love cemeteries. I'm Southern. I'm in Tennessee. This takes place in Paducah, Kentucky, not that far away from me. And, this is it's right up my alley for sure. And I am just loving Ms. Minerva Place is our main character.
Southern accent. It's so much better than my Yankee
accent.
Minerva. I know it has to be said that way, doesn't it?
You gotta say it that way. So Tracey, before we get to Minerva in this fantastic book, will you tell the folks a little bit about you?
Sure. I, of course, live here in Paducah, Kentucky, which I don't know if I should have written a book that's based here in Paducah, Kentucky, because people can call me out on it now. But, I've been a writer all of my life, and I mean all of my life. Since I was a little kid, I've loved to write. And I've mostly was in newspapers, magazines, and did editing and writing. I wrote a column for a while. So it's just always been part of who I am. And I decided I wanted to write a novel. I had some people that I had done some research on who were buried in those cemeteries, and I wanted to give them a place for their voice. They spoke to me and wanted to see. But then when I got into writing the book, Mrs. Minerva Place took over.
As she does. True to her character. Minerva Place took over. We've got someone joining us from Michigan. I don't know who you are. I'm sorry. Who is that?
Julie. Is it Julie? She's my buddy that's my neck of the woods.
Okay. That must be a Camp fan who has joined us today.
Yeah.
So love to see the people coming in and joining us. So y'all go ahead and keep dropping those comments. Let us know you're here. I'm keeping an eye on those over here. Oh, look, see, we've got people. Hi from Maine. Look at you, pulling in the Yankees today.
The Yankees are here.
These Yankees going to hear about this Southern book. It's awesome.
Yeah, they need to.
We're going to convert them is what we're going to do. I love Minerva Place. Minerva Place, first of all, the way you introduce Minerva in the book, face planting in a cemetery is like absolutely one of the funniest ways to start a book for me. And I feel like you just really get a feel of Minerva in that moment, which is fantastic. Fantastic.
Well, thanks.
I mean, I love her. And I love that, she's not this dainty little thing who's out doing these research. This is a middle-aged woman with some heft to her. And she's just going to throw that weight, both her personality weight and her own. We going to take control of this.
That's right.
Mind your own business. Leave me alone. I've got things to do. And then the ghosts show up.
That's right. Is she crazy or is she not?
I did wonder if she was crazy or if this was going to be like a magical realism thing or if it was just a psychological kind of study.
That's for the reader to decide because I couldn't even decide. So
and what's the difference, right? When you really think about it, if they're still telling, is this based on, like, here in Michigan or in my hometown, we do something called our cemetery tours where people will stand beside graves and then tell the story of the person. Is that how this came about?
This came about. Yeah, back when I worked at the newspaper here in town, the Parks Department decided they would put on these cemetery tours.
That's so neat.
So they asked me to write the plays for these events.
Oh, that's fun.
I accumulated all the research on all of these characters who were people who were actually buried here in Paducah. And like I said earlier, they just deserved more of an audience than what they were getting at a little cemetery tour. So,
and then the
Yeah,
research
one of
is
those
kind
too.
of done. Isn't that
Yeah.
neat? The research for the book was already in place.
it was. So when you asked me how long it took me to write the book, I have no way of telling you. It took years, years and years, because I was doing this research and accumulated it. So if I had just started at the beginning and written all the way through, it probably would have taken me well over a year. But as it was, it took years.
Here it is. It is Toward the Corner of Mercy and Peace.
It'll be released June 20th, right? So
Right.
not quite time.
Not quite out, but it is coming soon. So
Maybe
we're glad to have you here. There you go. Thank you. So yes, happy to thank you for that question so that we can get that title up there for you again. It is a lot of fun. I love the corner of Mercy and Peace. I guess in the book is the corner where the cemetery sits. Is that am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, there's streets in the cemetery, and that is
in the cemetery. That's right.
One of the locations.
I love that. And one of my favorite scenes, kind of early on, so I'm not giving anything away, is when like Minerva likes to tell these stories too. Like that's her thing, right? She researches these, she goes, she kind of finds these people, and then she's sort of creating a story for them. I mean, this is set in the 50s. I mean, she doesn't have the internet. She can't look back at all these records. I mean, she's going to spend hours in the archives or whatever, but she just likes to tell the story, and that's kind of her thing. She's going to sit and tell the story. I love the one that shows up, because shows up and goes, "You've got some details wrong." Say what? What do you mean? Like, first of all, you don't look like the person I imagined in my head. Totally different.
Right.
You've got some details wrong. She said, "Well, what did I get wrong?" And she says, "You're gonna have to figure that out." It's like, and for Minerva, who likes things her way and likes things to kind of just like she's calling the shots, for somebody to just randomly show up, a ghost randomly show up and go, "No, you did that wrong, and I'm not going to tell you what you screwed up." She's just like, I love that. I love that, just kind of foiling Minerva just a little bit there, and
Just a little bit.
does like to be in control. And then we have the precious and precocious little boy who's new to town, and I love that juxtaposition between Minerva and then this little guy who's just like, "Hey, I brought you a picture. I thought you'd like it. I took a picture of your tree." He's so cute.
Oh, thanks. I love George. And I love his father, Robert. I think that they are, they're just Minerva's salvation almost.
Yeah. I mean, she's got to have something to liven her up a little bit. She has kind of gotten in her rut, although I do like her car. I love her car. Her car named after Spencer Tracy. She's got some fun things. Now, did you know a Minerva, or is this just sort of someone that felt like a conglomeration of people? Where does Minerva come from?
The actual name Minerva is a street here in Paducah. It's and I grew up in that neighborhood, and I've driven by there so many times and thought, what a great name for a character. That would just be a great name.
It is a wonderful name.
Minerva Place.
It's goddess of wisdom, I think. Isn't it Athena?
Athena?
In the Roman god?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Minerva is wisdom, which would make sense because, first of all, she thinks she knows everything.
Right,
and then she's the one telling all the stories and telling everybody what to do. I love the relationship with the associate pastor, who normally tries to avoid her, and she tries to avoid him, and he's leaving her like, "This is the organ pieces you're gonna have to play for next week. It's in a sealed envelope on like they just," and then they have to run into each other. Like, I love her interactions with the people in town. It's almost like you're watching Minerva interact with these people, but I'm almost like, I love to kind of put myself on the other, like the character that she's interacting with in their shoes. Like, what do they think about Minerva?
Right.
And it's like, we know what she thinks of them, but what do they think of Minerva?
I think some people are just a little scared of her.
A little bit.
Just a little unsure of what they've got there. So it's refreshing when somebody just decides they want to be her friend.
Yeah.
No matter what she
Even if it's just little George, who's just in her life with wild abandon.
Because the book is so heavily, relies on Paducah, are you going to have some kind of an interesting launch for this? Like in the cemetery, are you going to sort of tie in to that?
I do want to do something with the cemetery. The launch is going to be at a little store downtown. So
perfect.
It's going to be, it's going to be open to all of Paducah. I've invited everybody I can think of.
I just wonder if the cemetery is going to get a lot more traffic after this, if people are going to, because I would be very interested in going and finding all of these graves and even doing the rubbings that she would do too.
Yes, I think it would be fun. My mom keeps saying, "You've got to take me over there for a tour. You've got to take me over for a tour." So that'd be a fun thing.
That'd be a great way to like build interest in the books, because Nola and I both write kind of locally based. Like Franklin is kind of her jam, and mine is Michigan, and I've found like so many ways to tie into my community and my state just through my books, and you really get that local interest.
Right.
And so I was thinking about that when I was reading it. Oh, it's going to be like such a gold mine for you and the town, and how fun.
These are some great Southern writers. Yes. You Yankees love Southern writers. Tom Frank, Fanny Flagg's a great one. Lisa Patton. Yeah. Those are great ones. So you will, if you love those, you will love Toward the Corner of Mercy and Peace, because it is definitely, I mean, it's got that Southern flair, but it's also got something for everybody in it, because I feel like we've all very To Kill a Mockingbird vibe to it, where you feel like you're getting to know the town.
With the matriarchs kind of the, with like the Miss Rachels. And I was taken back to, we're reading it in school right now, so it's fresh in my mind too.
It's my favorite book ever written, is To Kill a Mockingbird. So anytime that you get that feel, that nod, well, it's the same kind of, it's that vibe of that town, and learning something about yourself through how other people in the town kind of find value in your life and the things that are going on in it. And that's really what happens to Minerva in this one. Is, she's happy to stay on her own, but sometimes what you really need, even though you don't necessarily think you do, is for someone to come into your orbit. And then that is where you really do kind of come into yourself. And this is kind of how we find Minerva is pushing people out of her orbit, but desperately needing someone to come into it. But she's not expecting the way that happens. And that is what brings this book a whole lot of charm. And it's funny. Minerva is funny. I mean, I don't know if she means to be, but like if Minerva was a real person, Minerva would be really upset that I just said that Minerva is funny. She is. The things that she does, her own little quirkiness, the way that she's sassy. She is a little, just the things that she focuses on, or maybe the wrong thing at the moment to focus on, but she steers into that detail. And it's like, I love that about her.
I'm so glad you like her as a character, because she is based on some people that I know and who I dearly love. And they would be surprised if people thought they were funny. Definitely.
Did they recognize themselves when they read the book? Did they
actually the person is deceased.
Okay.
The main person was, but she would have loved it. She would have absolutely loved
it. Kind of a tribute as well.
It is. Right. It is. I hear her voice a lot.
Oh, well, I'm not laughing at your grandmother. No. I'm laughing in response to your grandmother. She really is, and in many ways, even though the people in town don't like Minerva, I mean, she is likable as a reader, because you're seeing more of Minerva than these people who interact with her. And so I can see how, the assistant pastor guy, the music director guy at the church might think she's a little abrasive. Some of the neighbors might think that she's a little abrasive, a little bossy, a little, I'm not going to do the Halloween party. Ew, kids, I mean, there's that. But when you see her with the breadth that we see her, kind of that wide angle lens that the reader gets to see her, we get to see a whole lot more likable things about her and funny things about her. And I think the ghosts The ghosts just don't give her any slack at all. They're just like, yeah, I'm just going to tell my story. No, I'm not going away. I'm going to tell my story. Like, you will listen to me. I'm just going to stay right here in your kitchen.
Did you see the comment where Sharon is going to be in Paducah next weekend?
I did show that.
Yeah, that would.
There you go. You got a reader coming to Paducah. So Sharon, you need to order this book if you haven't ordered it yet, especially after being in Paducah. That'll be something you need to read because you'll get a glimpse of Paducah in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, holler at me, Sharon, and I'll take you on a tour.
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool? Ooh,
there you
maybe
go.
Nola and I will have to take a road trip from Franklin up to
the
road, do it, the cemetery tour. What made you decide to go from? Because you're a journalist, right?
Right.
What made you decide to go into fiction? Was it wanting to tell the stories of?
I did. I wanted to tell their stories, but it had always been a thought in the back of my mind, you know, that I would someday write a book. And someday just kept being pushed off by regular life. And I thought, you know what, now is the time to do it. So it was just a lifelong dream of mine to do. And so I'm so glad. I've learned so much in this journey toward publication. It's really.
And this is your first book.
This is my first one.
Not my last.
I was about to say, I hope it's not your last because this is such a charming book. I do hope that there are more to come. Whether it's a series with Minerva or just other characters that you find around you. You truly do have the gift for finding the characters in a small town, and that is always, you know, for anyone who loves Southern authors and Southern books, that's just such a talent because they don't feel forced. You know, sometimes you feel like you got to create the character that's going to, you know, be the foil to the main character or whatever. And sometimes it's like, well, you got to have this kind of character and this kind of character and this kind of character. But yours are more authentic to what a Southern town would have. Like you didn't create them. You just like, these are the people who are going to be in this book because they're here.
Right. And there were so many more that I left out. I mean, there's so much.
Maybe a part two, huh? Or maybe
I mean, Paducah has got a really rich history. It's a very special little town. It's a very artistic community, and in fact it's a UNESCO community. So it's a.
Oh, well, I didn't realize that. I did not realize that.
It's a UNESCO creative city. So
wow,
there's a lot here for such a little place, and the people are just what make it so special.
So what do you have coming up? I mean, if this is book one of many to come, I hope, as a novelist, what else are you working on? I mean, you don't have to give us details, but maybe just a nugget of what might be out there for readers who get to like this.
I want to continue on with humor. I want to continue writing things that have humor in them. So the next book that I've written or that I'm working on now is called The Happiness Museum. And
great title.
It's about a very unhappy person who has to take over this happiness museum. So
it's a museum of happiness.
It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun to write.
That's
and then
awesome.
I've got ideas for more about Minerva too. I have several ideas there. I mean, Minerva needs to meet a man.
She does.
She just does.
She just needs a man in her life.
What would that look like?
I know. What kind of man is going to put up with Minerva? I feel like he would need to be such a Southern gentleman, just so kind, just so
to balance her out.
Balance Minerva, one that just kind of like, hey, softens her little edges a little bit, rounds them out.
There we go. Maybe it's rank.
Taking her by surprise. That's going to take her by surprise.
I had to say, Tracey, I was reading your acknowledgments, and I thought this was so neat. Without you, my words would sit imprisoned upon unturned pages. Ooh. I loved how you expressed your stories, that allowing them to come forth does feel like a release. And when we can't tell our stories, we do feel like they're imprisoned upon unturned pages. And I was so struck by that image that I loved it. I think it speaks to writers and why we write and why we tell the stories of these people in the cemetery, because it is almost like, let's say there's nothing worse than burying an untold story inside of you. Is that Toni Morrison who said that? And I just, that struck me so much. I feel like that's really the reason that we write.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I have to mention that I thought that was so neat and so indicative of how we feel. With all these stories, we're thinking about the next one, the next one, the next one.
That's
It's
right.
exciting.
That's right.
And I know, and I love that you want to do more with Paducah. And that, I mean, that's how I felt after my most recent book is set here in Franklin, the little town, Franklin, Tennessee. You know, I mean,
I love Franklin.
it's such a fun little town and such characters here too, and such deep history here. And so after I wrote House of Mirrors, so many people have said, okay, so what's the next Franklin book? I'm like, there could be so many Franklin books, like too many ideas.
That's right.
And I made Laura fall in love with Franklin too. She's
I'm coming back down this summer. We're going to do some more exploring. I'm very excited.
Oh, that'll be fun. That'll be fun.
I'm going to make a Southern girl out of Laura Kemp. It kills me.
You'll have to come to Paducah. It's not too far away from Franklin.
No.
Yeah.
Listen, in fact, it might actually kind of sort of be on your way down or back up.
Through.
Yeah, stop on your way down, Laura.
That would be cool. Yeah, my husband wants me to leave. Said I should probably just leave a day early so that we can have all of the time that we need. So I'm like, okay.
Okay.
Thank you, hubby. Well, I'm flattered by that he feels like, you know, oh, go spend some time with Nola. That's fine.
So I don't want all
thanks. I appreciate that. As opposed to that woman's a terrible influence on you.
No. You're never going to Franklin again.
Never. She makes you want to move there. But yeah, we're gonna have to take a little detour up to Paducah someday because I mean, you hear about it in, you know, Nashville news, weather, and all of that. You know, we talk about Paducah. We hear Paducah all the time. I mean, that is a town that gets mentioned, you know, as we kind of fan out in our weathers and all of that. So we hear about Paducah, but I had never really kind of delved into Paducah before reading your book, and it is just charming through the book, and knowing the little bit more that you've shared about it, I'm intrigued, and it sounds like a place I would absolutely love to go and visit. So especially after reading the book. So folks, we have your tourism thing lined up. This book comes out June 20th. So you read the book and then you go wander the Paducah cemeteries and you find all the people.
That's right.
And you find Tracey and you tell Tracey, hey, help me find this person.
Then gives you a small commission, right, for all the Chamber of Commerce.
You'll find Tracey Buchanan standing in the Paducah Cemetery with a stack of books and a pen, ready to sign for you as you go finding the graves.
See if you can find her.
Ooh, that would be fun, a scavenger hunt kind of. Try to find
maybe I'll take a book over there and hide it somewhere in the cemetery, and somebody. That'd be fun.
We were figuring all out this fun launch stuff.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
That would be very fun. So we are excited to be talking to Tracey Buchanan about her new release, Toward the Corner of Mercy and Peace, with one of my new favorite characters in a book, especially a Southern book, is Mrs. Minerva Place, who is just so much fun. So I hope you guys will get to pick up a copy of this. You can pre-order it now. And when you have your copy in your hand, be thinking that perhaps you need to go to Paducah, Kentucky, and go find these people, the ghosts who find their way into Miss Minerva Place's life. They come hell or high water. They're gonna make sure she tells their story and tells it right. And I love that. And, you know, get to know little George and his dad because they are precious too. So great characters in this book. Tracey, it's been a fun book to read, and it is truly a joy getting to know you. Where can our audience, our listeners and our viewers find you out in the world? Social media, copies of your book, where can they find you?
Well, I'm on all the social medias. I've even got a Pinterest board. So
okay, we'll follow you.
Yeah. Follow me on Pinterest, follow me on Instagram, on Facebook, and it's Tracey Buchanan, Tracey and Buchanan. And so I'm there. Regal House Publishing is the publisher of the book, and you can find the book on their site as well as Amazon and your other places that you like to buy your books.
And you have an event coming up with the launch in Paducah at the bookstore there.
Well, it's not a bookstore, but it's
okay.
it's a fun little shop, and we're gonna
Always fun.
we
love the little shops.
We're
We
gonna
love the little.
make some of the recipes that Nola's Minerva's neighbor makes for her. So
that pie. I wanted the pie so bad when Minerva's eating the pie. Nella's pie. Oh yes.
I hope the launch goes wonderfully well for you. We'll be
if you go on my website, which is traceybuchanan.com, I have several recipes on there from the book. There's a little crossword puzzle and some fun things you can do with your book club if you
how fun. Yeah, this would be a great book for book clubs.
What a great book club. It really would be a great book club book. So book clubs, if y'all are listening, if you're watching and you're looking for a book, this one's coming out on June 20th. Get this one on your radar. It would be a really fun one, especially if you are loving those southern towns, small southern towns, even a little bit of a ghost story, even though it's not really a spooky ghost story as much as a quirky, funny ghost story. So I love that twist on it. So book clubs, I think this is a great one. And then you've got some great activities to go with that. And you have the recipes. So now you know what to bring for your covered dish for your book club, because in the South, we do a covered dish, and this is what we do.
A covered dish. Just a regular dish.
But that's what you call it. Like if you're going to have if you're having a revival at the churches, tent revivals and things like that, afterwards the preacher will say, and then after the service, there'll be a covered dish. Now we know the term covered dish simply means it is a meal in which everyone is bringing something, and it's basically a potluck. But
we just
in the South, it's called a covered dish, because you got to cover the dish to keep the flies and the mosquitoes and all that stuff out of it. So you keep it covered. And so when you go down the potluck line and you're serving, you lift the lid off, because you're generally doing a covered dish outside.
I like being schooled. We just have a dish to pass. We have skeeters and flies up here too, but we just don't call it a covered dish. I guess we assume it's covered. Maybe we just,
I guess so. But that's the deep South phrase for any kind of food gathering is, we're going to have a covered dish. So you bring your covered dish, and it could be anything. It could be a salad. It could be a dessert. It could be a main course. It could be a side. Doesn't matter. You just like a potluck, but everything's called a covered dish.
Sharon says it's called a hot dish here.
And a hot dish, you can do a hot dish. You can do it. Hot dish. Where are you? Where is Sharon? Sharon, I should know because I know you. And I know where you are. Anyway, so every place in the country's got their own way to say it, but down here in the deep South, we call that a covered dish. And Tracy's got you covered for your covered dish. Recipe Minnesota. That's right, Sharon. Yeah. I knew that as Minnesota.
I just followed you on Instagram too. So now we're friends, and I'll look at the other places too.
Absolutely. Tracy, I wish you the best of luck with your launch, with all the fun things that are coming up for you. Folks are going to just fall in love with this book and with Paducah, Kentucky, and what a great ambassador for that town that you are. And I really hope that they find lots and lots of ways to find you and your storytelling to just for events that are going on there, and just what a blessing you are to that town. And now it's going to be overrun with tourists who want to go to the cemetery. We're like, y'all can visit, but don't stay. So I tell people in Franklin.
I appreciate you all having me on so much. This has just been so much fun.
Oh, it's been wonderful to have you, and thank you for sharing your work with us. And I hope you tell many more stories are released from the prison of the page.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Promise to read them. I'll write them.
Okay.
I'll read it. I'll read. You send me those fun Southern books. I am on it. Well, we are so glad that you all joined us today for this live edition of BYOB.
Yeah, thanks for the comments. Yay.
I know. Comments were great. Thank you so much. I know we were out of the habit of the comments because we've been recorded for so long, but we're back. And thank you for getting involved. Yeah, we absolutely love doing this live with the comments. We can actually talk to the viewers. So thank you guys so much for joining us live as we chat with Tracey Buchanan. Go out and follow her on the socials. If you are not on our Instagrams or our you're on Facebook, or you wouldn't be here. But if follow us on Instagram as well. We've got some things coming up, and we are going to be talking about on Wednesday. Laura and I will be live again and talking about the 1-year book birthday for her, the final book in her 3-book series, The Evening in the Yellowwood series, A Home for the Stars. So Laura and I will be back live again on Wednesday afternoon, and we're looking forward to talking to you guys then. But until then, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a copywritten podcast for Authors on the Air Global Radio Network, and we will see you soon. Thanks so much.